Hey, how you doing? This is John, and welcome to John's Long Box. I'm here with Dojo Kun. How you doing?
Good, thanks. How are you, John? Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, no problem. Is this the first time you've been on my channel?
No, sir. I was going to say
Yeah,
it's always
thought, yeah. I've been on so many other people's channels and panels. I'm starting to forget who I actually. I mean, I remember your face, but I don't remember if you were on my channel. So, how you doing? How's everything?
good. Good. The last time I was on, we were talking about Projectile Reptile, which funded and has been fulfilled.
Oh, cool, cool.
Yeah,
Did you fulfill it yourself?
I did. Yep. All of the steps were mine, and in a way, that's a great problem to have because it's actually fun getting it all prepared and sending it out to the backers.
The reason why I'm bringing that up is my comics are coming tomorrow, and I'm going to spend all weekend fulfilling. I have just over 300 backers, so I'm just curious to see how long it's going to take to prepare, mail.
Yeah.
Package.
I can't wait for it to reach me all the way out here in the sticks.
Oh, you backed? Thank you.
Yeah, backed. It looks awesome. I've worked with your artist before.
Oh, Renzo, he's great, and he's
Renzo's
banging it out with the Aaron Sparrow for Kneel Before Doomface. He's doing so good. Yeah, Renzo. Not only is he, to me, he's just a classic superhero artist. Like I say this, and no exaggeration. It's like John Byrne and George Perez's talent got together and created Renzo.
He would definitely love the praise, but he would be too humble to accept that.
And then I was going to say, and he is top off the nicest, most humble, fun guy in the world. Me and him just chat sometimes. You know what I mean? Just hang out. And chit chat. He's such
on top of being nice and talented. He's also very professional, and he really loves doing what he's doing, and that shows because he's excited about it. He did a cover for me for the Shifter, and I actually had to ask him to tone it down a little bit. It was actually too sexy because she's only supposed to be 15. He's like, "Oh, okay, I can fix that."
That's funny because I gave him the script for issue number 1, and he drew it, and oh my god, like I had one correction, and it was just a little annoying point. It wasn't even, you know what I mean? He followed my direction, but I was just like, yeah, could you do this? And he was like, yeah, no problem. But
so he's able to pick up on the script that you write and really bring it to life.
Like he'll send me the pencils. And I'm like, don't change a thing. That's exactly what I want.
Yep.
It's uncanny. It's because I wrote the script with his art in mind, and then when I see it, I'm like, this is like 80% of what I imagined in my head.
I was gonna say it comes back even better than you thought, right?
Yeah. I'm so excited, and then so issue 2, it's gonna have 2 superheroes. I'm gonna do a flip book, so it's gonna have like the main character, the patriarch, and then I'm gonna rotate out second characters. You know what I mean? Because I can't afford to do a second book and stuff like that.
I know what you mean. Yeah.
So I'm gonna do a second. So I gave him a choice, and he picked a girl. He wanted to draw a sexy girl. So that's all. That's up to him.
He does very good with that. Yes, he does. Yeah. So I wanted to say real quick, I know we're not talking about my book yet, but just to say that in the chat, Patrick Daniel is here, and he's one of the writers of, he wrote one of the chapters in my book that we'll be talking about.
Cool. Well, let's talk about your book then. So let's, I'll bring up, tell me about it, and then we'll bring it up.
Okay. So Dojo Kun Chronicles, it's 100 pages. It's 9 different superhero chapters. So along the same lines that you were talking about just a few minutes ago, and that is, trying to do a book for each one of these characters would be, kind of costly. So I thought, let's do an anthology. I saw how well Lost Pages 1, 2, and 3 did. So I thought, I'll do this as an anthology. Each superhero can have a chapter or 2 in this book. And I didn't write them all. And like I said, Patrick wrote 1 chapter, Jeff Beinecke wrote a chapter, and then Lucinda Genuise wrote a chapter for me. So it's a lot of fun. It was a lot of artists and colorists and letterers came together to make this happen. Like I said, it's 100 pages. And the exciting thing about this one here, as far as this launch is going, is it's 100% complete before launched. So, I felt bad that I was late at all with Projectile Reptile. So I said, I'm not going to do that again. I'm going to make sure that the book is done. And even the supplemental book, Deanna Hammer of the Angels, #1, which you can get as an add-on, it's 22 pages full color, and it's also complete. So I'm ready for, as soon as Indiegogo releases the money, once we get funded, it'll be, just get the print files to the printer and we'll be off to the races. I see Dan Sen from Argo Comics is also in the chat. Yeah, we backed each other, but he remembers backing Siamese way back when I first started crowdfunding back in, that would have been 2021. And that was another one that one funded in 3 days. So that was pretty exciting. This one here, it's not having such a good start, John. I got to be honest. I'm a little worried.
Yeah, I had a good day, and then it was just like a long doldrum. Well, first off, I want to say I know Dan. Dan and I have known each other since junior high school. We went to the same comic book store, so I
really okay. Yeah, that's cool.
And then Dan moved out of New York, so I lost touch with Dan. But we reconnected through this love of making comics. So awesome. Good to see you, Dan. And I just backed Dan's new book too. And I tell you, man, it's I launched on a Friday. I had a good Friday. Mm-hmm. And then Saturday, I spent all day just refreshing. And then Sunday, I woke up. I told my wife, "We got to get out of the house. I'm going crazy. I'm just watching everything." So I just trained myself to stop watching. Well, yeah. if you refresh, you'll see that you're doing a little bit better than you thought.
Oh, if I refresh, okay, let me do that. Absolutely. I see that we've got Marcus Kilgrew in the chat. Hey, Marcus. And Don Edwards is with us. Don has some work in this book, too. He's got a big pinup of Bot 42 fighting Black Ice. So hail to Don.
Oh, wow. I play, I always have this handy. Me and my friends, we play a superhero role-playing game, and he had a character called Black Ice.
Oh, did he? Okay.
Black Ice Man. So you went up a little bit because I'm a sucker and I almost back everybody who's on my channel. So if you want at least one backer, come on my channel.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. I hope folks take that as a sure backer, because like I said, this is ready to go. And I got to say that I'm real lucky with the artists I got to do these covers. Hey, Jan. So I got Matt Yackey did the coloring on the main cover, and the artist is a great get. It's Eric Ninaltowski. Now, that cover you see on the far left is an homage cover, actually, to Spider-Man, Amazing Spider-Man Annual, like number 8 or something. What's weird about that is it was the West Coast Avengers variant. So each of my superheroes takes the place of a well-known West Coast Avenger. And so that was fun. And then I thought with the other two variants, I'm going to do a very, very similar layout. And the one with the white background, yeah, Matt is a good guy. You're right, Marcus. The one with the white background, amazingly, I got Stefani Renee to do that cover. Now, Stefani is not doing well at all with his health, and it's well known. So I'm not doxing anything I shouldn't. It's well known that he's struggling. So the fact that he had time to do this, I was super grateful. And the other cover, the one on the right on the top, is by Elliot Rodriguez, who has worked with me before. And both of those two on the top there were colored by my colorist from Projectile Reptile, Chris Leithwood. So a lot of returning artists and colorists that I've worked with before. You can see Projectile Reptile on the bottom right there. That's an add-on for like a catch-up tier if you didn't get it the first time around. That cover is by my co-host on Incendiary, Peter Orchard. And then the middle one on the bottom, Siamese, another catch-up. Dan mentioned that he backed Siamese the first go-around. This is a new cover, though. This one's by Dan Dahl. And Dan Dahl at one time was known as Booty Juice. He's also the artist of the trading card. If you signed up for my book before launch, and then you're a physical backer, you'll get a trading card by Dan Dahl of Deanna Hemmer of the Angels, demonized, almost like a venomized version, if you will. And then Deanna Hammer of the Angels, you see that there on the screen as well. Number 1 is available as an add-on, and that's like a supplemental. She will eventually be leading the team that these superheroes will come together to form.
Cool.
So would really love to get the Dojo-kun universe rolling. I've got about 154 characters that have already appeared in my compendium. So thankfully, they've already been published. But it's time to see their stories that are behind them too.
I know what you mean. I no joke. I probably have about 150, 200 characters. Because I'm pulling from decades of my role playing game. I was always the dungeon master.
Okay.
So I was always making up bad guys. I mean, I got thousands of bad guys that my players already played, and like you, I want to make like a whole slate of comics. I want to make a Mary Sue comic. I want to make my patriarch, but I'm beginning out. So this is a good way to compromise. 100-page graphic novel. I got the hardcover because I'm a sucker for that.
Oh, excellent. Yep,
Yeah.
that'll be the main cover by Eric, and the hardcover is. I've done the hardcover for both Siamese and for Projectile Reptile. They are slightly smaller than a comic book as far as height and width, but I love that format. It feels a little compact. The feel of the cover is awesome. It's not quite velvety, but it's got a different feel than a comic book. The hardcover is great, and that's a limited edition. There'll only be 50 of those.
Oh, okay, so how many pages for each character, or is it just as needed per story?
Yeah, it varies pretty widely. As a matter of fact, Bot 42, which is on a couple of the covers there, he's got 16 pages in this book, but somebody like Sparrow only has 3 pages because that was enough to spark the story and to tell the origin, like how did she get her powers. So it varies from 3 pages all the way to 16, and it's everywhere in between.
What does Kojo done? The Dojo-kun?
Dojo-kun. The Dojo-kun are the 5 rules of the karate dojo. So I've been a caretaker
in the real world, or is this your
the real world? Yeah,
I don't know. Yeah,
yeah. So yeah, the 5 rules of the dojo are called the Dojo-kun. It's from Shotokan Karate. I'd been a student for years. I haven't been in a while, but still hold the tenets to be true. And I wanted to name my company after that because I really had a lot of fun with karate.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't know if that was the name of one of the characters. Yeah, as you can see, I don't do martial arts.
That's okay. And not for everyone.
Yeah. So they live by a code. I don't know if you ever saw the movie Repo Man.
No, but sounds right.
So my comic Heroic Tales, it's like an homage to it's a homage to Blue Sky Superheroics, meaning it's like back in the 80s when the good guys were good guys, the bad guys were bad guys. You're not supposed to be sympathetic to the villains or anything. Your comic has a similar look, but is it a similar feel?
That is exactly the feel I'm going for, John. It sounds like we are of the same era. The comics that I want to emulate, and I mean, who knows if I fall short or not? You got to get the book and find out. But I'm writing to try to emulate Marv Wolfman from the Teen Titans era, and Chris Claremont of the Uncanny X-Men era.
I won't say that because I will not say that I'm trying to emulate Chris Claremont of the X-Men. First off, I'm not as verbose. Second off, that's just opened me up for ridicule. So I'll say that I'm. But yes, the Marv Wolfman Teen Titans. For those of you who don't know, back in the 80s, oh my God, they rivaled the X-Men. They were the X-Men for DC.
Absolutely.
As far as sales and popularity and enthusiasm. So if you're trying to emulate that, that's something I want to read. That is what that's like the gold standard of comic books, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes, it is. Those 2 series, the X-Men and the Teen Titans, they did vie for the #1 slot a number of times in the 80s.
Yeah.
Teen Titans was like lightning in a bottle. I don't think that they realized how popular that would be, but Marv Wolfman was great at writing team and family dynamics. And I mean, you can't go better. You can't get any better than George Perez on art. There just is no one better.
I remember I wouldn't touch DC Comics with a 10-foot pole at the time. And I don't know what happened. I think it was my friend Jimmy. He said, you got to read these comics. And I'll never forget because I think it was up to issue 8. And I'm like, I'm going to buy. I bought it off the rack and it was so good. And then I had to go back and get the back issues. I'll never forget. I paid $16, which at that point in my life was the most expensive I've ever paid for a comic book. And, I was like, Paying
Yeah.
$16 for a freaking comic book. But man, I'm glad I did. I wonder how much it is now.
Which one is it? Is it number
For,
two?
for, for the first one, for the
Oh,
first
for issue number one. Okay.
I started at issue 8, and then from there I got Batman and the Outsiders and Infinity Incorporated. For some reason, those were my
Oh,
first.
Infinity Incorporated was good. I liked that one a lot.
And
It
then the
was like the
Crisis.
kids of the JSA, right?
Yeah, they were the
Yeah.
children of the JSA from Earth 2.
Right, right.
And then when the Crisis on Infinite Earths came, it just gutted the comic. It never recovered.
This is true. Yep.
It wiped out like the continuity of. And Roy Thomas, God bless him, he was more interested in fixing continuity than telling good stories.
Well, when you said Batman and the Outsiders, I'm reminded that there was a huge crossover between the Teen Titans and Batman and the Outsiders. That probably is what got your attention to that comic. And
now that you mentioned it, you're probably right, because if you remember, Terra was sisters with Geoforce.
That's right. Yep.
Yeah. So they did have crossovers, and there was also Teen Heroes at the time. But man, I could talk about this era of comics all night long. And like I said, if you're emulating this or trying to harken back to that, I'm super glad I backed, because, I bought the boys comics because I still am a big Garth Ennis fan. I love his war comics. He doesn't try to be superhero. They're war comics. You know what you're getting if you're getting a war comic.
This is true.
They're sad, they're violent and everything, but that's a war comic. But I bought the boys, and I remember reading like 20 issues, and then I just stopped reading and I just let it accumulate. And then I was like, oh, it's over. So I said, I'm going to go back and reread it. So I reread it 1 to 65 or 75, I forget. And I tell you, my stomach hurt. I was like reading it because I bought it and I paid for it, and I'm compulsive that way. I gotta read every comic book. But I wasn't happy. And now the Boys TV show is out, and everybody at work is like, "You watching the Boys?" Everybody knows I'm the comic book guy, and I'm like, "No, I don't want to watch that. I want to watch Superman." Like when Man of Steel, I was really upset with that movie. That wasn't the Superman that I wanted. That wasn't a joyful hope. Everybody mistrusted. They're putting Superman in handcuffs. Like, I understand that was supposed to be Superman's first appearance, but the way Superman works is you don't know who he is, and he comes flying out of the sky, and you're like, wow. Like the perfect example, Christopher Reeve Superman, when he comes walking out, and that guy goes, "Man, that's one bad outfit." They didn't fear him. They loved him, and then like he picks up the helicopter. You got me? Who's got you?
Right.
The awe and majesty of Superman. And then you watch Man of Steel, and they're like, arrest that alien. I was like, oh man. So I'm rambling, saying I'm glad that your comics are what I call blue sky comics.
I see. I hadn't heard that term before, but I like it.
Yeah, I heard it from Chuck Dixon, and it just, I think, describes exactly what I'm going for. Now, when I say blue sky, I'm not talking about like 4-color comics. Is a term that like basically means like Silver Age, like early Justice League, where like space alien turned my costume yellow, and now we have to go to Jupiter and rectify. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Like, but blue sky comics, it's like the new Teen Titans, X-Men. Although X-Men kind of, there was, if you read those Chris Claremont comics, there was some adult themes that I didn't catch as a kid.
Yes,
But they were so well woven in that, I didn't realize just how creepy the Hellfire Club was and stuff.
Oh, I was just going to say the Hellfire Club is definitely a good example of that, where there's some adult themes that are woven in. Yep.
Oh, Zach 10 is a good comment. In the animated series, people thought Superman was an angel because of what he did and what he does. Yes, Superman. I've said that I didn't. I probably saw it because I watched all those cartoons, but it probably logged subconsciously. But Superman is supposed to be like an angelic force in my mind. Like, you don't, even if you don't know who he is. Like, if he was to land on Sentinel Island, that isolated island off the coast of India, where even those people would go like, I think he's a good guy. We're not going to throw wooden sticks at him.
His name, Kal-El, comes from two Jewish creators, Siegel and Schuster, and El Yeshua Tenu means God is among us. So they wanted him to be godlike, revered, and all that kind of thing. So yeah, that's exactly.
And his
why.
origin is the same as Moses, instead of a little arc of reads, it's a spaceship.
It's a spaceship instead. Yeah, you're right. So there's a lot of religious overtones to Superman, and so it makes sense that people might think he's an angel. Hey, Shadowpunk, good to see you.
Yeah, Shadowpunk, how you doing? Shadowpunk's comic is awesome. Also, it's like it evokes Frank Miller. I'll say that.
Okay.
Definitely not
Yeah,
Blue
yeah.
Sky, but I like that too because
No, it's definitely not Blue Sky. In fact, Shadowpunk is very dark, but at
yeah.
the same time, the art is fantastic. And I just, kudos to him for that, for the 2 trailers that he made for his comic. I was so impressed with that
I
stuff.
know. So talented, so talented. Argo 5 is closer to JLE, which I can still consider Blue Sky Comics too.
Do you? Okay.
Those I'll say like up until like 2005 or so, like when comics, there's a definite point. Like I'll say like the Bendis era ushered in like the end of the Blue Sky era. Like you could get 90s comics, and they were still like wondrous. The Fantastic Fours just hopping. Like I was just reading the Tom DeFalco Fantastic Fours that ended around like 1999, and it was still spacefaring, planet hopping, going to other dimensions and dealing with celestials and awe and wonder and majesty. And then a couple of years later, you got Brian Michael Bendis, and it's just like superheroes like talking about like, do we have enough money to pay the mortgage on the Avengers mansion? This was like, who cares about that?
Yeah, we read these things for escapism and entertainment.
Right.
We understand.
I'm worried about paying the mortgage. I don't want Luke Cage worried about paying the mortgage.
Right. Yeah, we understand that those things have to happen, but we don't need to have that on the page.
Right. The Bendis had all those conversation pages. Yeah.
Yes.
I remember
far too much.
I was excited when Bendis took over because I really like the comic powers. I think Bendis, when he's doing his own stuff, I guess it makes sense when you're doing your own creations. You really want it to shine. So when he was working for Marvel, I don't know, but there was one scene I remember. They were all prisoners, and they're all naked and facing each other in a ring. And what are they doing? There's a villain who overpowered all the Avengers, tied them up, stripped them down, males and females. You're humiliating them all. They're all facing, and what do they do? They're all commenting on each other's bodies. Rather than like, we got to get out of here.
Right.
I was just like, what is going on?
They're fear for their lives. They really wouldn't be too worried about the nudity.
In this situation, when the Avengers got overpowered and tied up and were helpless, I don't know. I just thought that was like, what's going on? What's going on?
It is silly, yeah.
Shadowpunk, we're not too generous. You absolutely deserve all the credit and kudos you get. My only criticism is get number 2 out fast. Come on, man. I'm waiting. And conversation pages and pages.
That be the issue with a lot of us because, there's a lot of cost when you've got all of these artists. Well, he's the artist of his own, so that's helpful. But for those of us who aren't artists and we have to hire artists and colorists and letterers, that it's like herding cats sometimes. And in a few of these chapters in my book, like one of the colorists and one of the letterers couldn't work on my book anymore, but that's because I couldn't pay them anymore because you can't send money to Russia anymore.
Oh.
I had they were a married couple, Irene and Maxim. They both worked for me.
And they did good work you wanted to continue working with.
Yeah, they did good work.
Politics nations.
And they were willing to work with me too, but it came to a point where money, it's sanctioned. You can't send money to Russia for any reason, even for a service like that. So I had to stop paying them, which of course means they're not going to keep working for me.
Yeah. Oh, it's adding about 1 year. Well, it's going to be worth the wait. I know that. And Emily's. I have a theory that Emily doesn't sleep. That in the X-Men, the Cuckoo Sisters, there's like 6 of them that share a mind. I think it's Emily's because she's on everybody's channel. She's commenting. She's always there. Emily, God bless you.
Awesome. Well, good to meet you, sort of, Emily.
So I hear what you're saying. Like, I joke, but it's not a joke that I assembled the Avengers. Like for issue number 2, I think it's going to go a lot smoother. Maybe a lot cheaper because I hired a couple of people that I shouldn't have hired. And then I had to start from scratch all over it. I didn't even know that there was a pre-press stage when I started making the comic. like all the art was done, and then people like, who are you hiring for pre-press? I'm like, well, what's pre-press? And they're like,
Right.
you already sunk all this money into a comic, you don't know what pre-press is. So I had to, I found a pre-press guy, and then, it's so much fun. So now I know what I'm doing. I'm organized. Like, oh my God, I hated you, Dojo. You're sending me a file, then I have to download it and put it into another file. I hated that.
It's a lot of work. People who haven't done it before don't realize that. I'm in my 10th year of publishing. So
wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, this is my 15th book now. So
wow.
I'm hoping to continue, but I have to be honest, this one here is not looking very good here at the beginning. The first night, the night I launched, I only got 2 backers on Bancroft's show. So that was kind of a discouraging thing, but I've got to stick with it because it's my passion. I've been collecting comics for over 50 years now. And I've been publishing.
You and I are in the same age group. I'll be 56 so. in 2 weeks or 3 weeks.
You're 56?
I'm 55 now. I'll be 56 in 3 weeks.
All right. You're even younger than me.
Oh, you look great, man. It must be the market.
Thanks. Maybe it's the crowd.
guy I hang out with at the train station, this guy could crush me. And I found out 2 days ago that he's 3 years older than me, and he looks 15 years younger than me.
Oh my gosh! Okay.
With steak, eggs, and works out. So there you go.
Wow, good for him.
I guess the Diet Cokes and potato chips are
I need to pick up his hobbies in addition to my hobbies.
Well, I mean, I'm looking at you. Your baseball cap, your Lincoln Park shirt. You look 20 years younger than me.
All right. Well, I'll take it. Thanks.
So I hear what you're saying, because I did pretty good with my comic, and I'm not trying to put you down or insult anybody, but like I launched on Bancroft. He was so good for me. He nothing but a gentleman. Bancroft is just the best. I have nothing but praises to say for that guy. And
he fortunately and wisely stays away from all the drama, and good for him.
I pledged to myself and to a lot of people that I was going to stay out of drama, and I failed myself. I'm on my 5th failure, and I say Jesus fell 3 times. I got involved in drama 5 times since I started my channel.
Oh, I see.
I consider that pretty good, considering I'm the guy who would fight on the internet about comic books for 20 years. Drama and all the, from 1999 to about 2015. So 16 years. There was not a comic book message board that I was not a jerk on, fighting with people. And then I just started arguing politics with people. And then when I started this channel, I said, I can't fight with people on the internet anymore. It's just going to chase me. But I still have that demon.
Yeah, I hear you. I got dragged into some drama, kicking and screaming. And fortunately, lately, I've done my very best not to give it any oxygen. So.
Yes. John Snowden, he says, come on, John, you are somewhat drama free. I can't say that I'm drama free. And I will say that 3 of the 5 times I got involved in drama, I could have just walked away and not done anything. But 2 of the times, I don't know what it was. It just sometimes you just get so angry, you say something that you kind of regret, Yeah.
So. It's difficult. It's difficult for me to avoid it, but I understand that I also don't want to bifurcate my own audience.
Right.
I really would like people to give it a chance based on its merit, not whose side of an argument they're on. So,
it's okay. You don't have to apologize. The truth is the truth. The truth is the truth.
And Patrick is right. The Perez Avengers. I mean, when I first started reading comics, the first couple of Avengers issues I got were the Avengers fighting Absorbing Man. So
my God, that was what, Avengers 102, 103,
nope,
I think
183, 184.
Oh, well, yeah, okay.
Okay, so yeah.
I'm myself with my knowledge, and I was wrong. But that glorious cover where he's blue on the cover.
Yes. What he's done there is he's absorbed the turbine of a ship.
Yep.
And he's become the turbines. Also in that 2-issue story arc, Captain America nails him with a shield, and Beast says, what's that made of? So Captain America describes the vibranium, adamantium, blah, blah, blah. Beast goes, oh, good. I'd like to know what I'm fighting, because Crusher Creel gets up and he's made of the vibranium. And he's like, oh, yeah, damn it.
I remember spoiler alert, he like transforms into water and merges in with the ocean, and the Avengers just give up.
Well,
like, oh well.
Yeah, what could they do though? I mean, Miss Marvel did fly out there to like grab him.
Yeah,
and
she doinked him in the head.
He gave up and just sort of became water.
I love that Shooter Perez bird run. Yeah, so good.
Yes.
And it was so great because I don't know if what was going on, but like one issue would be Perez and the next issue would be Byrne, and the next issue, you know what I mean? Like It didn't matter. You look forward, and then they were all inked by Pablo Marcos. It was so good.
It was an amazing run of comics in that era.
Yeah, and then Perez had quite a few runs of Avengers, and your comic, you said you had an homage to the West Coast Avengers. That's going to be on, right? And that's another. I got to reread that. That's a bird run that I know the least. I don't know why. I know why. I was heavily into college at the time, and I was.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
that was a very interesting run. That's where, spoiler alert a little bit, is when Vision got deconstructed and became all white.
Yeah.
That was during the John Byrne run. Oh yeah. Wow, Marcus knows his stuff too.
Yeah, as much as I know about comics, Marcus knows like exponentially more. The Count Nefaria, Argo Comics, Dan is friends with my friend Mike. Mike and I were literally born next door to each other. So we have a mutual friend, Mike. And Mike and I, he's even older than me. I think he's 58. So later 50-year-old gentlemen, gray hairs, sitting there drinking a beer, talking about Avengers 165 till this day. It is our favorite comic book. Oh my God, we acted it out. We used to go, our families would go camping. I'll never forget. He got a stick, I got a stick, and we were like choreographing that fight, in the woods. Nice. That is still my single favorite superhero comic of all time. Count Nefaria. And you could attest, and Marcus could attest, and Dan Sen could attest. If you missed a comic, you were screwed.
Because they were a very long, continuous story. Even if sort of this villain's arc was done, there's still storyline going on from issue to issue. If you miss one, you're lost.
But Avengers 165 ends with that cliffhanger.
Freudian slip.
In the hammer at Count Nefaria. And I didn't get 166 for like 2 or 3 years later.
Oh no, okay.
Yeah. And I still love that comic, even though I didn't know how it ended. Oh man. It just shows you that a good comic will stick with you for life.
Yes. Yeah.
I just remember stuff. If Marcus is like me, he can't remember what he did yesterday, but he can still remember, the Avengers 183,
Right.
I pull out Count Nefaria, Hero Clicks, and Bricks will be. For my role for Villains Vigilantes, which I take out at every live stream, it's a superhero role playing game. I made like a Count Nefaria ripoff.
Oh, okay.
Count Supreme. How is that? And this was before the Liefeld comic. So Count Supreme was my Nefaria, and he had the same costume and everything like that. And he beat the crap out of my player characters. When it was just fun. My friend Jimmy will bring it up. Count Supreme. He was just like, no.
I played tabletop role-playing games for a very long time, but that was a long time ago. And I also played Magic the Gathering for years as well.
Yeah, I always tell my Magic the Gathering story that when I lived in Albuquerque, my roommate worked in the distributor for all of Southwest, and it's driving me nuts that I got to message him, find out the name of that company. I guess the statute of limitations have worn off, but he would take cases and throw it out the window into a dumpster, and then we would go at like 2:00 in the morning, climb in the dumpster, get the cases of cards, and that's how we paid our rent in college. We were like it was like the Breaking Bad, but with magic cards. We would go to all the village inns and Waffle Houses and
oh my gosh,
and Howard Johnson's and Denny's. Why couldn't I think of Denny's? And like I was, as a joke, I would have them stick it in my coat pocket, like, hey, what's that? And I'm not joking. We had this. So this was like 93 to to 96. So we had like Black Lotus cards. We didn't know they were expensive at the time, you know. And
Okay, we need to stop. You're killing me.
I know. This will kill you then. We had a treasure chest. Like, I don't know where it came from, but it looked like a prop from a movie. It looked like a Pirates of the Caribbean treasure chest.
Okay.
And that's where we kept all the cards. We will, this was our job. This is how we paid the bills. So we had them all sorted and stuff. And we always thought that we were going to get robbed. So we took this treasure chest in the basement of the house, which the houses in Albuquerque don't have basements. We were the rare house that had a basement. There was a boiler room. So there was a false wall. You pulled out the tile, and there was a boiler room. And then behind the boiler room, there was just an empty space, a dirt floor. And we hid the treasure chest there. And I moved out, and I never thought of the treasure chest because it was Jeff's job. Like, if anybody was going to get in trouble, it would have been Jeff. So to me, those were his cards. And then he moved out, never even thought of it. So we're wondering if that treasure chest with Black Lotus cards and first edition is still in that house.
Okay, so where was this?
Yeah. So I someday, like, because me and my wife are planning to go to Albuquerque. I want to show her all the restaurants and the Frontier Diner and everything. Tony Grigo is always in the chat. He's there. I want to go knock on the door and be like, hey, I lived in this house from 1993 to 1995, and I left something in the boiler room. Would you let me in? I wouldn't.
No, I wouldn't either. Shadowpunk says the FBI is taking notes. And I don't know if you know it, John, but you're talking to a fraud examiner and an internal auditor here.
Oh, that was me.
Yeah. I think you're right about the statute of limitations, though. So
yeah, well, I don't know. I'm full of shit. So what do you work? You work for the FBI?
Well, I'm a member of the civilian arm of the FBI, Infraguard. But no, I actually work for an insurance company that owns a bank.
Oh, okay.
So I'm a money laundering specialist. I'm a fraud examiner and an internal auditor.
Well, I'll tell you, these are real Black Lotus cards, so it's not like they were heisted fair and square.
Fair and square, he says. Actually, the crime committed there is whoever was throwing it out the window into the dumpster.
That's what I'm saying. It wasn't me. That's why I didn't take the cards. It wasn't my job. I just picked Jeff up at work and then drove him to work at 2:00 in the morning.
Okay.
And Jeff, yeah. Enough said.
Yes. Moving right along.
Yeah, moving right along. So yeah, but Magic is a fun game. I think it's a clever game, but I just won't play it anymore because I don't like that collectible aspect of it.
Oh.
Like, whoever has the deepest pockets wins the game.
Yeah, pretty much. Because
people go online and they buy the perfect card to sync. There's a game called Sorcerer that I get my Magic feel, but it's they call it a living card game. These terms make no sense, but if you buy Sorcerer and you buy Sorcerer, we all have the same cards. But if I buy Sorcerer, you don't have to buy anything. It comes with, like, they call them nouns, adjectives, verbs. You know what I mean? And so there's just a big stack of nouns. So, the mighty wizard or the wizard, and then adjective mighty or dreadful or evil. You know what I mean? And you take a noun, an adjective, and a verb, and you shuffle them together, and there's your deck. That's all you're prepping. So you don't have to do the deck building and everything. And if you buy a box, you don't have any rare cards. And then every couple of years they come out with like just a small box of like extra.
Okay.
So
yeah, with Magic the Gathering, I had an angel deck that was just full of nothing but rare, and it was nearly undefeated. I mean, it was.
Right. And how much money did you spend to build that deck?
Oh God, it had to have been $1,000.
Yeah. Because for those of you who don't know what we're talking about, they come in little packs like we used to buy baseball cards, and you open it up. And it's garbage. Okay, an okay card. Maybe you got a really good card. And, and people who play these games are like addictive personalities. So they would go down to the store. The day they would release booster sets, they would buy cases. Yep. And then literally go into the store the next day and sell back all the crap cards. Like, they would spend like $200 to get like 3 cards. And the rest of them they would sell back to the card stores, So, like, the only way I'll play Magic is they have what's called Commander. You just buy a 60-card deck. and then you buy. So like, you want to play? We'll go down to the store. We both buy a commander deck. It's pre-built. We don't know anything about it, and then we just play and figure it out as we go along. Because I do like Richard Garfield. He makes really good games.
Yes,
I
and
don't know if you can see behind me, but I got King of Tokyo and King of New York. I got Bunny Kingdoms over here. He has another card game called I can't even think of it.
Richard Garfield is a master's degree in mathematics, so all of his games are math strategy. But don't tell anybody that, because they won't want to play.
Well, have you played King of Tokyo?
No, I haven't.
It's a silly game. It's the kind of game that you could play with adults and you could play with kids. And it's King of the Mountain but monsters. So like, you got not Godzilla for legal reasons versus not King Tonk for legal, and you roll dice. It's monster Yahtzee. It's a lot. I love playing with all my nieces and nephews, because the more people playing, the better. You could play this with like 10 people if you really wanted to. It's a lot of fun.
Cool.
And he has a new game coming out. I can't think of it, but he has Bunny Kingdoms. That's a really interesting placement. And
John writes, I was told there would be no math.
But that's just it, is you don't realize you're doing math.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Keyforge. That's his other game.
Okay.
And Keyforge, I don't know how they do this, but you buy a deck, and each deck is totally unique from any other deck in existence.
Oh.
It's like some computer generated algorithm, and you can't mix up the cards. Like each they have like a unique back. So if I was to take one card and put it in another deck, you tell. I don't know how they do that. So they have like a computer generated randomness about it. So
wow, that sounds neat.
It's really interesting. But I would probably play that because you don't have to chase down expensive cards. I don't like that. I got enough problems with expensive comic books.
Yeah.
So I'm going to bring back your campaign over here.
Speaking of comic books,
let's talk about your comic books. I like going off on little tangents. We'll come back. So,
all right. So what I'll do is I will scroll down the screen and show you guys some more of the artwork and things.
Sure.
So let me see here if I can. There we go. All right. So this is the cover by Eric Ninotowski.
Yeah. This is reminiscent of the West Coast Avengers, right?
Yep. This is the homage, and then the other two are.
Can you do me a favor?
What's
Can
that?
you scroll back up? Would you mind just telling me the names of the superheroes? I just get a kick out of people's names for superheroes.
So down in the center here is Scarlet Archer.
That's great.
To his right is
right away. I could just that fact that you told me Scarlet Archer shows me that you get it. I've been told that I'm an old fogey about superhero names. Like, yeah.
Okay. To his right is Sakura, which is Japanese for cherry blossom.
Okay.
Above her in the purple and golden skin are Halia and Undine. They go by H2O. They are both like aquatic superheroes. They look as mermaids here, but they can also change. They're shapeshifters, so they can do more than just that. Up here is Lone Shark.
Oh, wow. Lone Shark.
In the back, in the distance here is Night Mist.
Oh, okay. I didn't even see her.
In the armor is Canadian Shield.
Okay.
Up here on the upper right of the cover is Sovereign. And he's going to be like the Superman knockoff, to be honest with you.
Oh, awesome. That is an awesome name for a Superman knockoff.
Bot 42 is right here. And Bot stands for Biometric Organ Transplant. And if that doesn't sound right, it's because there's a story behind that as to why he's Bot 42 as opposed to any other number. And then lastly, down here, sort of crouched, her name is Sparrow.
Okay. Yeah, you get it. I tell me about Lone Shark.
So Lone Shark, it would be impossible to come up with a superhero that doesn't harken back to something that I've been influenced by over the years. So I would say he's my cross between Namor and Aquaman, but closer to Namor because this guy, Lone Shark, has a chip on his shoulder and doesn't like the surface world much at all. Now, he's not going to lead monstrous, whales to attack the surface world.
I always like, how could Namor join the Avengers after launching a tidal wave in Monstro on New York City. It's like Bin Laden doesn't get to join the Avengers.
Right, right. Yeah. So the next cover here is by Stefani Renee.
I
And there's
just
a couple.
wanted to say, when I heard the name Lone Shark, the only other time I got jealous that I didn't come up with a name was why can't I think of his name now? He came up with a character called The People, who was like a Punisher ripoff.
Oh yeah, Phil Diaz did that.
And Phil Diaz. Oh,
Lost
my
Pages.
God. Yeah.
Yep.
So yeah, I'm so glad I backed it. You get it. You get how superhero names is supposed to work.
So here on this cover, you'll see Siamese from my first crowdfunded comic.
That's another great name.
Sakura is in the middle here. Her name is Fierce, and her partner is on the other cover, which you'll see in a minute. So it's Starfrost and Fierce together. Miss Mighty is this gal here.
Oh, that's now. Let me guess. She's got to be like a Captain Marvel, like she's a goody goody.
Sort of like a Mary Sue Supergirl kind of thing. Yeah. In the middle here is Deanna, Hammer of the Angels. And then over here, her name is Breathtaker.
Excellent. These are excellent names. I'm so excited to.
Thank you. And
Excellent.
then the last. Okay,
like
so
I
this.
said, yeah, I don't want to, but yeah, these are great names.
This
really
cover
excited.
is the XX chromosome cover. Okay. They've all got XX chromosomes, right? John?
Oh, I'm sorry. I got distracted by the comments. What did you say?
Oh, I said this cover is the XX variant cover, the XX chromosome variant cover.
Okay.
Because they're all, XS
Well,
chromosomes,
how
right?
dare you? Gender is a social construct. Haven't you learned anything?
Well, hold on. Before you say how dare you, this is the XY chromosome cover.
Okay.
But you'll note that Sparrow is on this cover.
Well, that's good, because why should she be hampered by
Well, see, here's the thing. I had a contest on my campaign. I said there appears to be an error somewhere on the campaign. If somebody can identify the error, or what seems to be an error, and tell me why it isn't one, they get a free copy of Deanna Hammer of the Angels #1. Well, Dave Brink from Genuine Comics.
Oh, there you go. Talk about another guy who gets superheroes.
He gets it all right because he identified it quickly. He said that not only is Sparrow on the XY chromosome cover for some reason, he said either that's actually a guy, which would be weird, or, and this is the great part, because that means Dave was listening very well to another appearance on a show that I had, where I explained that Sparrow started out as a kleptomaniac and was given special powers to be uncatchable. Now, she's a thief at the beginning, so she's an uncatchable thief. He said he speculated that she stole the spot off of this cover from the original Sparrow. And for him to hit that so dead on, I was super impressed. So he won the contest. He's going to get a free copy of Deanna Hammer of the Angels in his backing kit, because he also backed the comic.
Yeah.
So that was
if anybody was going to get it, it's Dave Brink. Dave Brink, if you don't know, has a comic called a Perfect 10.
Perfect 10, yep.
And he's another guy that I actually had to change a couple of names of the characters in my book, because he has, I hesitate to say great minds because my book hasn't come out yet, for all you know, but he gets superheroes. You get superheroes, Dan said.
Thank you.
Heroes. I get excited. And I had a fun Twitter fight yesterday. Not drama. It was just friends busting each other's balls. You know what I mean? Uh-huh. And we were talking about superhero names. And again, every time I say this, somebody gets mad. I don't mean this to be mean, and I don't mean this with disrespect. I said, I just don't get the character Isom because I don't get the name. If everything comes from the superhero name, like Lone Shark, and then everything you described, he's a lone shark. A shark is, everything about that character, perfect, 100%. Sovereign, when you said he was a Superman type, now, is he a Superman type, but he's a little arrogant?
At the beginning, he's very arrogant because he's sent to Earth to scout it for conquer.
This is perfect. This is exactly what I was thinking in my head, but I didn't want to, poison the well or whatever. But this tells me that you from the name, everything else falls like a prism or whatever, with that ray of light breaks it up. So and again, I'm not trying to be mean to Eric July. He was nice to me. I got nothing but respect for his business, but I just don't get the character because I don't get the name. And these guys, they're obviously 20, 30 years younger than me, were saying that, well, superhero names are tough. And I said, yes, they are, but you just have to work harder. And here, Dave Brink has a whole slew of superhero characters, and their names are perfect.
Yes.
You've got a whole slew of superhero characters. Their names are perfect. Dan Sen has a whole slew of superhero characters, except for the ones Mike makes. I'm busting chops. Mike's my favorite. The names are so you can do it, and I'd like to think that my character's name's superhero, like the Patriarch.
Like Patriarch.
Right.
Yes.
He's a protector. He's
absolutely.
When
you guys
mentioned it before, issue 2 debuts a character. Her name is Mary Sue.
When you guys, you and Dan and Dave, come up with these names, like you mentioned a few minutes ago, every once in a while it's like, oh, darn it, why didn't I think of that? That's brilliant.
I actually have a couple of characters that I messaged Dave Brink and said, are you okay if I still use these characters? Because they're vastly different than you have, except for the name.
Oh,
and
okay.
Like, yeah, sure. Go ahead.
So, yeah, let me tell you a few more names here.
Yeah,
so
I'm loving this. This is so exciting. I love this.
On this cover, you've got Lone Shark, Sparrow, Sovereign, and Scarlet Archer. Told you about them. Bot 42 can be better seen down here. He's the one crouching with this odd-looking, like, bludgeoning stick.
I gotta ask: is Bot 42? Is he in any way inspired by Raj 2000, John Byrne's first character?
Oh. I didn't think of it that way, but I'll bet that there is some, inspiration there.
It never goes away.
Because I do have the magazine size Raj 2000. I know exactly what you're talking about. And then, I said that Fierce up here was the partner of Starfrost. Well, Starfrost is right here with his, you can't see the flame powers because it's behind Sparrow, but he's got flame and ice.
Oh, okay.
And then lastly,
there you go. Okay.
Lastly is this guy here who's in the clown makeup. That's Wisecracker.
Oh my God, that is a great name. I have a clown character that'll debut in issue number 3, and let me just warn you guys, I hate the Joker. So.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Wisecracker.
That is awesome. That is a great name.
It. So here's Bot 42 in his, his first appearance. Pardon?
I was just saying thank you. He said, yes, the Patriarch is a great name.
Oh, yep.
These are great characters. These characters I love to draw. Yeah. These are well-designed, well-named superhero. Some very cool designed and costumes. Yeah.
So this is some of the art, the interior art for Bot 42. So Dr. Primordial has a chapter in here. He's not on any of those covers, but he's sort of like my answer to Dr. Strange or Dr. Fate. And his first chapter is Primordial Tales. That's the one written by Patrick. Sakura and Wisecracker, their art is right here too. Let me get down to that. Here's
Primordial Tales is one of the chapters inside the book I just backed.
That's right. Yes.
Oh, great.
Then Sakura has her chapter in this book, and she fights a Tengu, which is the avian sort of like mythological creature from Japan.
Yep. I play Dungeons and Dragons, so
okay. So yep, you know about the Tengu. All right, and then Wisecracker. His origin chapter
is he a good guy?
He's an anti-hero.
I picture him to be like a question type.
Oh yeah, that's a good analogy. Yep.
Yeah. Dude,
okay.
Then Sovereign. Not my approval, but man, you're firing on all with these characters. I'm loving them.
Appreciate it. Sovereign, Sparrow, and H2O are the next set of art that I show. Now, Sovereign. This art by Aaron Kearney from Great Britain is just, at first, it took a while to grow on me, but the more I see it, the more I love it. It gives me Mobius vibes.
Yes, it does.
And then so what I did was I told my colorist, I sent her a page of Mobius art, and I said, can you emulate this? Like, what do you think? And she said, sure, I can give it a go. And I think she did a great job. This is the colorist from Russia, Irene.
It's a shame politics is getting in the way,
I know, right? Then this one here is one of the pages from Sparrow's origin story. So as you can see, she meets a married djinn, which a lot of Americans call a genie.
You didn't play Dungeons and Dragons at all.
Yeah, the real word is Jinn, Djinn.
That was an ongoing debate in my D&D group, whether you say genie or Jin.
Oh, okay. So she gets her powers from Meridia. Meridia, this is not Meridia's first appearance. Meridia was actually in. Did I robot?
No, not at all.
Oh, okay. Meridia was actually in a book that I
Wow.
did, 100-page black and white book called The Loved Ones that Left-Handed Comics was involved in. So that was her first appearance. So
This
this
art,
is.
this reminds me of Hernandez brothers.
Oh, okay. I'll take that. Sure. So this is Halia and Undine. They're sisters. And they're talking about whether or not they should be superheroes. They're debating that right here. So
Who
you
drew
can
this?
see what?
Who drew this?
This is Josh Aller. He also did this one up here.
Okay, I guess the coloring is different, so I did.
Yes, it is two different colorists. You're right. So they're shapeshifters. They can do the mermaid. They can do their their gold and purple skin with human legs, and they can look just like humans. Then the last set here is Skin, Swat, and Swift, Lone Shark, and Scarlet Archer. Now, Skin, Swat, and Swift, their synaptic kinetic interface network is what Skin stands for. But each of them have their own abilities, and we'll look at that art in just a second here. But Lone Shark is first. Here he is being all haughty.
I love Lone Shark. I think he's gonna. I'm rooting for Lone Shark to be your breakout character.
Appreciate it. Next up is Scarlet Archer facing his enemy, the Electric Eye.
Now I got if you're like, to me, I always said like red is like a bold color. So is he like a brash bold guy?
He is. Yep. Well,
you're doing it right. You're doing it so good.
In her first appearance, which is in Night Mist and the Scarlet Archer #1, he's pretty down in the doldrums, and actually Canadian Shield has to save his life. But here, he's like back on his feet again and facing this villain, the Electric Eye.
That's why, again, you're talking about the West Coast Avengers and the old event, like Hawkeye back in the 80s when you and I were reading. He was the coolest guy in the world. Like this guy was on a team with Thor with no superpowers, just a bow and arrow, and held his own. You know what I mean?
My favorite issue featuring Hawkeye was when he single-handedly took down Deathbird. The Shi'ar, she was a winged opponent. She was super strong. And she had a long history fighting Ms. Marvel and the X-Men and, I mean, some heavy hitters.
Leandra's sister.
Yes, exactly. Leandra's sister. So she breaks into this warehouse where he's a security guard and he's got to fight her on his own. And not only does he do so and wrap her up in a net and everything, but at the end he like dips her and gives her his big kiss, which really pisses her off.
And if you remember the first, he's looking at a Playboy and he's got a beer on
yes, that's right. Yeah, they made him.
And Matt Fraction draws him as the skinny little wimpy guy,
right,
hanging out at Starbucks. And I was like, did you guys read Hawkeye? He meets Mockingbird, they fight, and next thing you know, they're making out, and then they're married, and then they're breaking up. They were like like the hottest, angriest couple ever, and now he's I'm mopey guy. Yeah. Marcus knows. He knows all the comics.
All right. So now down here, this is the cover to Deanna Hammer of the Angels #1.
That is awesome looking.
Say a little bit about Deanna Hammer of the Angels. So Deanna, that's my wife's name. At 2 different companies, they called her the Hammer because let's just say she gets stuff done and makes other people get stuff done. I've always called her my angel. And the helmet you see on this character here is reminiscent of the Spartan era because she's from the Michigan State University Spartans.
Okay, I was going to say, is she mythological based?
So this character is based loosely on my wife. And
lucky you.
Yeah, I'm just gonna let that go right there. Kind of, yeah. She is Heaven's disciplinarian. That's who Deanna Hammer of the Angel is. Well, now the odd thing about this is, although she's called the Hammer, what this character is actually carrying is known as a maul. A hammer of that size is a maul.
I played Dungeons & Dragons. I remember
everybody knows, or everybody would call it a hammer if they saw it. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Here's the two catch-up issues of Siamese and Projectile Reptile that are available as add-ons. Siamese was a 4-issue miniseries that I published a very long time ago, back at the beginning of my publishing days, and I put it together as in one trade paperback for my first crowdfunder. And like I said, that funded in 3 days and was fulfilled on time. Projectile Reptile funded, I think, within the first 45 days. It did fulfill late, I got to be honest, and that's why this book, Dojo Chronicles, is completely done ahead of time, because I felt so bad for every day that Projectile Reptile was late. I have some excuses, but excuses don't pay the bills and don't get the book in your hand. So, you know,
I'm pretty forgiving with late, like, you know, like,
well,
up to 6 months late, I don't care. But when we're talking years, that's a problem.
Right. And I don't want to perpetuate that problem.
No.
So this book, Dojo Chronicles, it's done. As soon as I get the money from Indiegogo, when we fund, let's be optimistic here. When we fund and Indiegogo gets me the money, then it'll be ready to go to print and it get to the printers. So I've built in a bit of a pad as far as fulfillment and, you know, when expects to be fulfilled. But I expect that if everything goes well, and I understand it doesn't always do so, but if everything goes well, you'll even have it early if I can help it.
Oh, good.
And then these two are ash cans that were available with Siamese and Projectile Reptile. The first one, called Meanwhile, is an homage cover to several different DC and Marvel covers, where my bad guy Mortosis is in the background here. And then Siamese, Breathtaker, and Brick House are facing off against the Doberman gang.
Brick House?
Yeah.
Now I got to change another character's name.
Oh, no.
a big, hot, statuesque girl?
No, this is a guy.
Okay, I can't see. I'm gonna make it bigger.
Okay, it's all right. In fact, Jake Adams, who made Cobalt Death Stalks Us, he's got a character named Brick House. It's spelled differently, but that one is a chick.
Yeah.
So you may want to talk to Jake.
Yeah. It inspired by that song, She's a Brick.
Yeah, exactly. Do you remember, talking about guys our age, John, do you remember a movie called The Doberman Gang?
You're opening up a door with cobwebs on it. So you got.
It was a group of villains who bought and trained a set of real Doberman to go in and rob the bank on their behalf. And at the time, the Doberman was the big bad dog.
I remember that. Yeah.
Before the pit bull was, the
Yeah.
Doberman was the scary dog. So these dogs had spiked collars. They had whistles for the specific commands where they would, demand the money from the person, hand them the note, whatever. So the gang was actually the Dobermans would run into the bank and rob the bank. I just thought that was so cool. I was a kid at the time. I'll bet it was in the 1970s that this movie came out.
Like I said,
I
feel like an old creaky door is opening and a memory is going to.
So yeah, after the show, go look it up. As soon as you see the movie poster, you'll be like, oh, yes.
Now this cover, Meanwhile, like you said, this is on, and I'm trying to recall, but I've seen this, the superheroes. I think one of them was Legion of Superheroes with the Time Trapper.
Legion of Superheroes with Darkseid on the cover, and the other was for the DC version, and it was John Byrne.
Right.
Or, no, was it John Byrne? Yes, it was John Byrne.
Yeah, because John Byrne would reference himself a lot.
Oh man, he steals from himself a lot. And then he did another one with the Fantastic Four, and that was Dr. Doom in that position.
Right. That's right. I mean, he also did the Legion of Superheroes with Superboy, and then he did the Fantastic Four with the Gladiator in the same position.
Yes. Yeah. Right.
I don't know. I wouldn't say steal it from. I just thought that was fun. That was just like a little. Do you get it? Do you get it? A little comic book.
Right. And then Bog came with Projectile Reptile, and this one here is, I guess, would be like my homage to Swamp Thing or Man Thing.
Great name.
Bog he's an alien. He's from another planet, and then aliens come to take over his world, and he lets them know in no uncertain terms that they are unwelcome. However, he does get removed from his planet by a later incursion rather, and things go awry from there. So Bog is like an 8-page ash can sized book that introduces that character and a few others as well.
In my role playing game, there's a Swamp Thing character called Bog, but I don't think I was ever going to import him to the comic. But
Oh,
it's
okay.
a great name, Bog.
And then on both of my other fulfilled campaigns, I had chibi stickers. A lot of people loved them. So I've got all 13 of the characters in chibi stickers on this one. This is going to be a sheet of stickers that are available as an add-on.
I'm rooting for Lone Star, but I have a feeling Wisecracker might be your breakout character.
Oh, you think so? Maybe.
It is people. It's perfectly designed. What a great name, Wisecracker.
And then I have stretch goals, but I got to be honest with you. I'm not sure that might be a little pie in the sky. Every campaign should have something by 6 a.m. on it. So I've got at 6,000 Scarlet Archer, and then at 7,000 Deanna Hammer of the Angels. I found out
about 6 a.m. He's an artist. When people like this is by 6 a.m. I was like, why do they need this done in the morning? Like for the longest time, I didn't know what people were talking about.
Yes, he's an artist, and I
think I only found out about a week ago what that meant.
He's super stylized, and I love. And I suppose these are a form of chibi, but not quite. He's done a poster of every indie character that he's done, and he put them all into a single poster. I gotta be honest, I'll bet it's close to 1,000 now.
Wow.
He's got just tons of characters on that poster.
Maybe I'll reach out to him for my second issue campaign.
Oh yeah, you've got to. He does such great work. And he's got his own book. I think it's coming out relatively soon. He's a very busy guy, so he's got a lot going on. So hopefully he'll get to his book soon. Let me see here. I'm gonna refresh and see if I get any more backers. Nope. But I appreciate you, John. Appreciate you backing for me. And
I'm going to do the best that I can because, like I said, it looks like you get superheroes.
I appreciate
I'm a little frustrated in that, like, this whole indie comic scene. It seems like let's go back to when comics were great, and then they're going back to like early Image. And to me, early Image was like the beginning of the end.
Yeah, that's not. You're not going back far enough to say when comics were great. Comics were great in the 80s.
Zach said he's going to back tomorrow. Tomorrow's payday.
Okay. Oh, somebody said. I'm sorry. Somebody said they're going to back tomorrow. Excellent. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Zach Dan. Great
Zach
guy.
Dan. I thank you. I appreciate you.
Yeah. It's funny because Marcus says he agrees with me. Thanks, Marcus. I at work because I'm a construction worker at work, and a lot of these guys. First off, they have no clue that comics are even still being made. Right. It is really sad. Comic books as a whole, I think, is failing in that people like they still make comics. Oh man, and they all love comics. And I'm talking big biker guys, muscle guys, tattoo guys. Just guys that you wouldn't think would be into nerd stuff, but they all fondly remember comics, and they're like, "Oh man, I used to love Green Lantern." And then, like as we're talking, other guys are like, Green Lantern's a jerk. Wolverine, and now it's like the Graybeards, but like 30 years removed from the comic book store, and everybody and like they still make up. So everybody at work is like super excited that I'm making a comic book.
So I want to give you an anecdote along those same lines. I told you I'm a fraud examiner, internal auditor, et cetera, et cetera. Well, I just recently presented to the Association of Certified Fraud Examiners, and my topic was money laundering and schemes in the comic book industry. So, and people are like, in comic books, how do you launder money in comic books? And it's very much...
Make those? Don't they have to make them to actually launder?
Right. But you know what? People don't realize that some comic books are going for millions now. And when they go for millions, just like fine art, people can buy them to legitimize their ill-gotten gains. So I talked about that. It was just an hour-long presentation. It was an 8-hour seminar, and I gave the presentation just for an hour. And I said, now I realize that for probably all of you, this doesn't relate to your day job. However, because we're all auditors and examiners, I just want you to be thinking along the lines of outside the box. Like you think that all of the places that fraud can take place. No, fraud can take place everywhere. So I did that, and I got a 9.8 rating out of 10 from all of the survey, everybody who took a survey that talked.
You were almost mint in box.
That's right. I got the CG rating of 9.8.
Funny that you said that because we would. Who was I talking to? But we would talk about gambling. How like gambling is like and I was like, go to any comic book store on a Friday night. It's gambling. And like, what are you talking about? I was like, you go in the door, you paying $10, $5 goes to the house, and $5 goes to whoever wins Magic the Gathering. That's gambling. It's nerd gambling, and you got 12-year-olds in there. And Magic is a big. It's what's keeping a lot of comic book stores in business.
Yes,
but it's so funny. You go into any comic book store on the weekend, and it's nothing but gambling that nobody understands is really gambling. But it's no difference than poker.
I think you're right. I see that.
I was thinking of what you said. First off, somebody just painted a big painting that went for like $100 million, and it's basically like a giant Ukraine flag. It's to me, it's the most obvious case of money laundering I've ever seen. My friend Laura ran an art gallery in the 90s, up until 93 at least, and then I moved and I kind of lost touch with her. But she was just like, yeah, money laundering in the fine arts is a big thing. You get a lot of mafia people like buying and selling paintings, and you get guys who are making crap, but they somebody buys it for 25 million and then donates it and sells it, and it's all tax write-offs and everything like that. She said she was getting really disgusted. And the last thing that I was just reading, I'm fascinated with this. I really want to include it in a comic book story for Heroic Tales in the future. But terrorists who are digging up artifacts and selling them to rich collectors to buy rocket propelled grenades and stuff.
Oh my gosh.
Like they're going into like Hammurabi tablets in Iraq and you know what I mean? And Sumeria and ancient Sumeria, and pulling out these priceless artifacts and selling them to some rich Saudi collector for millions, and then using it to kill people. What a shame.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I look for when I'm looking for money laundering. I'm also looking for human trafficking, drug trafficking, and terrorist financing. So those are the four things that we're looking for when we pour over all of our transactions. But I want to stop for a second and say thank you to Eric Grant. He says he backed the digital. Thank you very much. I appreciate you, Eric. There is a digital tier for people who either want the comic to be very mobile and able to take it with them on their mobile device.
It's a generational thing.
Or if you're overseas and don't want to pay for the shipping, because Siamese made a little bit of money, but the shipping for Siamese really bit into that hard. And Projectile Reptile actually lost a little bit of money because of shipping. So, God bless the overseas backers, but at the same time, shipping can hit pretty hard. So that's why I want to keep a digital tier available.
Do you know Ashley from? He does the comic The Argonauts, and he did a Santa Claus comic but I think he stopped it. But he's in Ireland, and he as we were talking live, he's like, John, I'd love to back your comic. It's everything that sounds good to me, but it's $40 shipping. He goes, do I really want to spend $50 for a comic book? And he right then and there, I said, I got to include a digital tier.
That's right. Oh, Eric says he's from Australia, or he's in Australia. So yeah, he gets it.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I totally understand. I got friends in Canada that they don't back as much because just Canada doubles the price of shipping.
That's right, which is silly because I bop over to Canada all the time. I'm in Michigan.
Okay.
So I got family in Essex, Ontario. We would go over to Canada frequently. So Canada doesn't actually feel like a foreign country to me, but it is.
Funny that you said that, because my wife is from Winnipeg and she has a brother in Toronto, and we went to Toronto many times to visit her brother, and it's really weird. I feel like I'm in the Twilight Zone. I'm like, it's like America, but it's on a different frequency. It really is a different vibe in Canada. It's not good, it's not bad. It's just different.
I also have family in British Columbia. So lots of Canadian connections here today.
My mother-in-law was in Vancouver, and when she passed, we flew to Vancouver to clean out the apartment and everything. First off, it's beautiful.
Yes.
But it is like, Toronto and Vancouver are almost two different countries.
Oh, from one another. Yeah, you're right.
So I got to go to Winnipeg, where my wife's family. Her brother was in Toronto, she's in Winnipeg, and her mother was in Vancouver. You know, like Canada's a big country. You don't realize how spread out. So I keep saying, you know, next time I'm out of work, you know, I'm a construction worker. We could do up to like 12 weeks furlough, no work. I'd like to fly to Alaska, rent a car, and drive to New York all through Canada. Because I've done that in the United States by myself. I used to have time off before I met my wife, and I'm like, you know, I'll drive to North Dakota. Never been to North Dakota. You know,
did you do the Route 66 thing?
Yeah, I lived in Albuquerque on Route 66. You know.
Okay.
Yeah, I love that. You know, that I love Albuquerque. I had to move because there was no way to make money in, you know, living in Albuquerque.
Oh.
I remember in Albuquerque in 2005. I was 2000. No, yeah, I moved back in 2000. So it was 1999. I was making $206 a week as a teacher. I was like, "Are you kidding me?"
Ouch.
Yeah. But anyway, so the bottom line of what I'm meandering about is, yes, the digital tier makes it so that the comic is full, because I'm never reading a digital file just to show, and I've been talking about this a lot. I got the digital proof of my comic, and I read it, and I was like, okay. And then like a week later, I got the physical proof, and then I read it, and then I noticed a bunch of mistakes that I didn't notice on the digital proof.
Gotcha.
Because, you know, I'm looking at it digitally, and I guess my eye didn't catch things like this page I keep showing everybody, you know, just to show you how important to me my way, because it's like $20 a proof, you know. So, and I had 5 varied covers, so that was $200, but like a whole page was printed without any dialogue.
Oh,
you know, all the letter. I switched up the file. I wouldn't have caught that if I, you know, and I okayed it digitally because digital comics aren't real comics to my way of thinking, you know.
I agree.
You know?
I include them for the reasons I stated, but yeah, I don't, even when I get a digital version of a comic, because sometimes when you back the physical, you also get the digital. I store the digital. I'm not sure why, because I never read the digital. I always read the physical comic.
Right. I guys, you know, again, just like that, I get digital copies of comics that I backed. I never read them.
Now,
I never read them. I wait for the physical, but that's me. But if you want them, I'll sell you my digital files. And if you back my comic, as soon as I'm done talking to Dojo, I'll send you the file. You know, it's the file is ready to go.
Okay.
But I understand, you know.
Yeah.
And you know what? This is going to sound mercenary, but like when people back my comic, it's a sigh of relief because it's almost pure profit. You know?
Oh, yeah, I see what you mean.
Yeah, because it cost me a couple bucks to ship. It cost me, I got to buy a Gemini mailer, and then I got to spend a couple of bucks to ship. You know, you send me a digital file, I send, you know, so I don't know why I was so resistant.
Well, additionally, too, I want the comic to be out there in whatever format's available because, you know, yes, I would like to make money, but, you know, this isn't my day job, comic books. Right. It would be great if it would become my day job, but, you know, realistically, it's not. This is my hobby, and I just want the stories told. I've been developing these stories for years, and my passion is there. I've been a collector for over 50 years. So the idea that somebody would love to read it, even in digital form, heck yeah, I want you to have it.
I totally agree. I mean, but to the point, like, when you were talking, you have, you know, a little worried about the launch of this. You know, issue number 2, I have to, because I'm getting my costs down. I spent way too much on this issue. You know, I was very inefficient. I was, you know, I did some silly things. I hired some people I shouldn't have hired, and then had to hire new people to fix the other people's mistakes and things like that, which was me because I didn't know what I was doing. So issue 2, I'm going to be more streamlined and more efficient. If I make the same money that I'm making now on issue 2, I'm golden. You know, so if I hold and do better, I'm it's because I have to make them. I can't lay out another $7,000. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Every issue. I'm hoping that this issue pays for the next issue, pays for the next issue. You know what I mean?
It'd be great if it did. Yeah. I guess some people who don't create comics don't realize that they can cost anywhere from $6,000 to $15,000 depending on what you're doing and with whom.
Well, Marvel, was it Marvel or IDW said that they want their entire page to be $200 a page? Well, I'm paying more than $200 a page,
Yeah, I
and
was
I'm
gonna
not.
say that I would be okay with 200. Yeah.
So, and I got 40 pages in my book, so do some math. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And
Yeah.
then there's this stuff that I didn't think of. Like right over here, I got my printer to print shipping labels. And that was just to pay for the talent for my book. But then I had to pay to get the comic printed. Now I have to pay to.
And to get it printed is several $1,000s.
Right. I was a little disheartened when I realized, oh, my sales include the shipping.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So that's not, to me, that's not really how much money I made.
No, exactly.
You know what I mean? So but I also can't complain. I'm sounding all doom and gloom because we're talking real facts over here. But I pretty much broke even.
That's good.
And if I was a little bit better and if I was a little bit wiser, I would be fine. But issue 2, it's a learning curve, man. I still,
Well,
you know,
I hope you do. I hope you do make some money and you can continue it.
yeah, you too, man. I'm excited. I love the names of your characters. So let me ask you, unless you got to go, we've been talking for an hour and 22 minutes. I'll ask you one question, and then you talk about whatever you want, and then we'll get going.
Okay.
But my theory of the superhero, and I'm sure people who watch my channel a lot are probably sick of me talking about it, but I say with a superhero, I'm not talking detectives, I'm not talking fantasy, I'm not talking sci-fi, I'm talking superheroes.
Mm-hmm.
It is all about the name. And I say this, it's like a 3-pointed triangle. You got to have the name, and then the costume, and then the powers all have to support each other, or you don't have. And the example that I give, and I know I'm in the minority, I don't like Cable. I think Cable is a bad character because the name is not a focus for the superhero. Cable, he's from the future, and he's got a bionic arm, and he's got telekinesis, and he's got a big honking gun. And what is his costume? His costume doesn't matter. Every time you see him, he's got a different costume. He's got no. To me,
he's got no consistency.
correct.
His name means nothing really,
Right?
and his powers, I guess they vary depending on whoever's writing. It's
what are his powers? And and his parents, and then he's Jean Grey and Scott Summers' kid. Like he just inserted gravitas into this character by stealing the shine of other two beloved characters.
Oh, right.
And I just did I can't just go and make up a character that's the son of Spider-Man and Mary Jane, and it's my character. You know what I mean? It's like who am I to start at the beginning? But I just don't like this. Like the other one is Bishop. What does the name mean? It doesn't fit. Bishop. Like, does he move sideways really fast and take out the queen? What is it? But he has energy manipulation powers, but he never uses it. He uses a big honking gun. To me, this is like what a child makes up, thinks is cool, and so everybody gets mad. And guys, if you like these characters, that's fine. This is all like superhero. So
I'm actually with you on those.
But when you say like, I'm trying to think, like somebody tried to say to me, well, Adam Warlock. I'm like, well, Adam Warlock is a brilliant name. So Adam literally means first, and Warlock implies mysticism, implies an outsider. So he, it implies like mystery, and tainted by evil. Are you going to tell me that word doesn't describe that character to a T? He's
right.
He's the first. He's super powerful. He's, I thought that was like, and another person said Namor. I said, well, you forget that Namor's name is the Submariner.
Right.
He's the Submariner. It all works. So that's my theory. What are your thoughts?
I think that in addition to those 3 points on the triangle, I'm going to throw out one more. Uh-oh. And unfortunately, I haven't done very good with it. And that is that a superhero needs a symbol. DC, in my opinion, has done it far better than Marvel. I'm mostly a Marvel guy, but DC puts Marvel to shame for this. If you see the Superman S, that's known worldwide. As soon as all you have to see is the S, and you know who you're talking about. Same thing with the Bat in the yellow oval, the double W's.
The four from the Fantastic Four.
Yes. Yeah, there are a couple examples in Marvel, but not many.
The Spider-Man spider.
The Flash's lightning
Flash is
symbol.
lightning.
The
The Green Lantern.
Shazam's lightning. You know, they do. The Captain America's shield is another one. I see it on your wall back there, so that's another
Yeah.
good example. But a symbol like that, or a super recognizable silhouette, both of those two things help.
Absolutely. I mean, I was going to say that a symbol, because I'm big on a symbol, and that's one of the things. Of course, they're not here right now, but I made like I want every one of my superheroes to have a symbol that could be put on a sticker or something like that. Like I made this coin for the Patriarch. That's the Patriarch symbol. You know,
Yep.
I'm really, really proud of the Mary Sue symbol. You know, that's coming out. I thought about her symbol, and I'm like, oh my god! And then the third issue, this character, I came up with a symbol. The less to say, the better. Because every time I talk about this character, I got to change his name and design. But I agree with you. The symbol is like if you want to put a triangle, the symbol goes like right in the middle, like the eye of the triangle. But
There you go.
Yeah,
the Eye of Ra.
yeah. Daredevil has the DD. You know that
Right.
You know, and of course there are exceptions. Like Wolverine doesn't really have a symbol.
Not individually, but he does have the X
silhouette. That you know.
Yep. That and the claws, but he's also got the X on his belt. So
right. But that's the team symbol. Yeah, same with the
right.
Fantastic Four. Yeah, I understand people like Lucas Bishop. To me, like when we were playing our role playing game, my friend made up a character called a Shadow Man, and Shadow Man had the ability to turn invisible, and he could fly, and then he could manipulate light. So he was a pretty well-rounded character. I thought he could fly, he could turn invisible, he could manipulate light and make laser beams, stuff like that. He fought like a paramilitary guy, and then took his machine gun, and then he was just like, this is part of his equipment now. Like I'm like, why do you have a machine gun? You shoot laser beams. And he's like, well, a machine gun is cool. I'm like, Spider-Man doesn't have a flamethrower. Like you fundamentally don't understand superheroes if you think a guy who I said, okay, so he turned invisible and guys shot him because his gun doesn't turn invisible.
Oh,
But I'm like, and that's the way I look at Cable. Like Cable has telekinesis. Why does he have big honking guns? Like telekinesis should be better than a gun. Bishop shoots energy beams and redirects and reabsorbs.
To see a character that uses telekinesis properly, that would be Ebony Maw. That's telekinesis.
Yeah. Phoenix doesn't have a big gun. She has telekinesis. Patriarch has telekinesis. He doesn't need a gun. I just find that's like I don't know, childlike. Guns are cool. I don't know. Like,
so K Ojo in the chat is talking about just because you have mutant powers doesn't mean you can't use guns. And
correct.
Spawn uses guns. Well, honestly, Spawn, as visually awesome as Spawn is, I think that along the lines of Cable or a lot of the characters from Image, it sounds like a kid wrote it.
I will give Spawn a little leeway because the more he uses his powers originally, this might change. The more he uses his powers, it's like a trap. When that meter runs out, he loses everything to Mal Jaboa. So I could see him using guns because he doesn't want to use his power. To me, that was like a cool dynamic. But then they got rid of that power meter somewhere. I collected up to 65 of Spawn, and so I don't know if they changed that or went back to it. But I agree with you. Most of the Image comics, like I don't like they just didn't seem developed by an adult.
Well, not only that, but they also did a lot of it tongue-in-cheek. Like, for example, their aquatic superhero is Ramon, which is Namor spelled backwards.
Right. Yeah.
It's like, really?
Yeah.
That's the best you could do.
Yeah.
Okay. So I do need to get going, guys. But
I know we've been talking for a while. You got me excited. I'm gonna make a superhero named Bishop whose powers they can only move. Perfect. There you go.
Then it makes sense.
I mean, Bishop, he moves fast like a Flash. You know what I mean? If he's a chess piece, or But I understand he's not a superhero. He's a cop from the future and blah, blah, blah. But he's in the X-Men. He's a superhero now. So,
right.
you know.
So, John, I want to say thank you very much for having me on. It's always great to talk to you because we have similar interests in comic books, and that always makes for a fun conversation. For those of you who backed Dojo Chronicles, number one, thank you. I really appreciate your support, and I hope that I'm able to put this book in your hands. And if at any time you see me posting on Twitter or Facebook or wherever you're in the social medias, if you see this, it would be super helpful if you could repost it. Absolutely. And get it into the eyes of your followers too. Yeah, Marcus, it was great for you to be here. I appreciate it.
Yep. Good luck, man. I'm rooting for you.
Thank you. I can't wait to get Heroic Tales.
Yep. Tomorrow, crack it open that box.
It'll take a while to get here, though. I live way out in the sticks, but that's okay. It'll get here.
Thanks a lot, everybody. See ya.
Take care. Good night.
Bye-bye.